Good afternoon. It's Chris Robinson, Robinson Ag Marketing with today's post-close grain and livestock comments. Well, the selling continued. The old axiom, and I've been doing this for 30 plus years. Generally, the funds sell for 3 days and then they're done. They added a fourth today and just pounded on it. I'm going to lead off with two ideas. First of all, back in March, and then we hit 487.5 two times. The first time we hit it, we tried to get everybody to basically clean up all of their old cash stuff, all their old corn sales, or at least hedge it. Some guys did, some guys didn't. That's the way the cookie crumbles. You got a second chance to hit 487.5 just about 2 weeks ago, and it kind of all changed about the May 11th, May 12th. We were hanging around 490, 480, and that's when we saw wheat sell off, despite it got the worst crop conditions ever in history, right? And then wheat still sold off. I was like, that's weird. That was the first sign that this was a questionable. And I don't think anybody out there in their right mind thought that we'd rip through all of the supports all the way down, but we have. So now the question is, where is the bottom for old crop corn? There's a lot of old crop corn out there that hasn't been sold. A lot of farmers sitting on it. And that's the way it always happens. If you're not hedged, now you're like, oh, geez, I have to sell it. So what do you do if you don't want to sell it, but you want to hold it, but you want to protect it, right? I just posted a chart, the continuation chart, which is, the weekly nearest. And we just took out, we were on this trend line that was looking pretty good for a while. We were kind of climbing it. Now we've completely decimated it when we went through 450 in spot corn. The next trend line, and these are very simple technical it's not really a model. I mean, trend line's about as simple as you can get when it comes to technical analysis, but it's very, very simple, not very complicated. There's really not a lot of support until possibly around 390, 385. So yeah, there's 45 cents worth of risk here. Now, I'm not promising you that we're going to drop 45 cents. Don't give me that. But just looking at the charts, there's that much error between here and, any decent support on the charts. Our low back in August of 2025 was 375. I'm saying there's probably a little bit of support there based on the trend line at around 390, 385. Anyway, you cut it 45 cents. We just gave up 35, 40 cents in the past 6 days. Don't lose another 45 cents, right? So if you can't bear to make a sale, you need to absolutely positively get some shorter term options on. Absolutely positively look at July dated puts. You can get at the money puts for 8 cents. I would probably look at even 425s, 10 under from where we are now. 5 under from where we are now for about 6 cents. Again, it's a 6 cent way to, kind of stop the bleeding on paper. And I sure hope we turn around. Me saying there's 45 cents worth of risk is not me promising you that we're going to go there. So don't hang that on me. I'm just looking at this from a risk management standpoint. If I was long a bunch of corn and hadn't sold anything or hadn't hedged anything, people in my program, guys that I work with, guys and gals that I work with, if they had wanted to have puts on, we did. So those have been our substitute sales. And this is a situation where, people hate puts until you need them, right? The most annoying thing is to have a put on and then watch corn rally 40 cents and then tell me, oh, I didn't need that put, Chris. I mean, that's why we use puts as opposed to selling futures. Because if you sell futures, you cap all the gains. If you buy a put, at least you've got a tripwire where you stop the bleeding. So we do have a USDA to get through this week, and then we've got to get through the acres report at the end of the month. So 2 huge reports. Some guys will look at these July options as a way to go. Others, you can do the weeklies. You can do like a week 2, so you're covered up through that report. But you're not obligated to just sit here and get hammered in the face, okay? So that's really what I wanted to say. I try and keep these talks short. All the stuff was under pressure today. New crop beans held up amazingly well. It's still right around 1170. The low of the year, at the beginning of the year, was 1055. That was back on January 2nd, 1055 and a half. So there's still $1.10 to the better. use what happened with corn and wheat as a cautionary tale. You don't have to sit here and get completely run over, right? The problem is in a year where prices are tight and everything's tight and, price margins are narrow, it's hard to cough up and say, okay, I'm going to buy this put. But at this point, it might be something you want to look at because you don't want to leave a huge chunk on the soybeans as well. And soybeans are, especially new crop, are still hanging in there pretty doggone good, even at 11.67. The wheat, again, just more long liquidation today. I think a lot of people were surprised that Chicago failed at 606, and we've dropped down here to 585. We have given back 62% of the rally. Okay, what rally? The rally that started in January 2nd when we were down at 525. We went from 525 to 688. Today's low is a 62% retracement. Now, we've seen these retracements. Sometimes they hold, sometimes they don't. You're going to get a real-time experiment right here at 587 and a quarter. This is a big, big, big support. If it fails, then then it opens the door back down to 550. So again, there's a lot of air here. If I was sitting on a bunch of corn, rather than sell into a 50-cent puke, which is what you're doing, because the high was 87 and a half and we're at 30. So, rather than sell into a 57-cent puke, you may want to say, all right, I'm going to sacrifice a nickel here, or 7, 8 cents, something cheap to stop the bleeding, and hopefully we get a recovery. All right, so there's a lot more to be said. I'm going to be posting my letter tonight. I'm also going to be doing my webinar. I'll get into what happened today in the cattle and everything as well. But boy, what a disappointing day in the corn. And, we'll talk about the same thing with new crop D's corn. 468 was a big, big level. Now we are under 460. The beginning of the year, we started the year at 445. So that's 15 cents away now. And again, I understand we weren't given a whole lot to work with this year, right? But we did, trade above $5 for about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days, 9 days. We were above $5. So you had a chance to get something done. And now we've dropped 45 cents. The same math applies there. If you just want to get through the USDA report, you can do some shorter dated puts where you don't pay a ton, but you stop the bleeding. Okay, guys, this is Chris. Look for my letter tonight, and then later on tonight, I'll be posting the webinar. The webinar is 15 minutes long. I'll show you exactly what it is I'm talking about on these charts. Have a good night.